Give me the Bible, star of gladness gleaming, to cheer the wanderer, lone and tempest tossed. No storm can hide that peaceful radiance beaming, since Jesus came to seek and save the lost. Oh, give me the Bible, holy message shining, thy light shall guide me in thy narrow way. Precept and promise, law and love combining, till night shall vanish in eternal day. Till night shall vanish in eternal day.
Jesus about Jesus would I know more of his grace to others show, more of his saving fullness see, more of his love who died for me. Oh, more about Jesus, let me learn more of his holy will discern. Spirit of God, my teacher be, showing the things of Christ to me. Oh, more about Jesus in his word, holding communion with my Lord, hearing his voice in every line, making each faithful sing mine. About Jesus, more about Jesus. Oh, more of his saving fullness see, more of his love who died for me. More about Jesus. What a friend we have. Oh, more about, Lapo e baba, au lapo e baba, au zivusa, sona zivusa, we lapo e baba, o lapo e baba, we sona zivusa, inhliziyyo yami, welelewo, ayi, welelewo,
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to day 3 of our Women's Ministries Leadership Training. I'm so excited for today's session, but before we go any far, did we realize yesterday that our numbers went up to 111? And we are so happy, and we can see even today we have still up above 100, and now we're at 102. While yesterday we were welcoming our shepherdesses, our pastors, and today we'd like to acknowledge the presence of all the hubbies in the house who are joining their wives during our training. And an interesting fact is that we have somebody in the house all the way from the US, from California, who is Mercy. Mercy, thank you for coming in every day to join us for our leadership trainings. Remember yesterday I mentioned the presentations that we were going to receive, but due to technical glitches that we got yesterday with the device, we had to do a little reshuffle. So this evening we are going to have before I get to the presentations that we're going to have, I think let's start with our announcements, and then I introduce the speakers for this evening as well as the topics. Ma'am Valerie, over to you with the announcements.
Okay, I greet you all in the name of our Lord Jesus Christ. I don't want to waste time. I'm just bringing the following announcements. First of all, we are using the same link that we have been using from day one. So use the same link, because every day we keep receiving messages asking for the link. We are using the same link we have been using from day one. Secondly, the assignments are all due by Sunday. All the assignments are due by Sunday. Thirdly, if you want to receive your assignments through emails, please again. If you are not receiving any messages on WhatsApp, it means you are not registered. So please find a way of making sure that you are registered. That is all from me. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you, Ma'am Valerie. So this evening we are having 2 modules, as is our tradition. And the first module we are having this evening, the title is Woman of Worth, and we are having Mrs. Bokhulun Tombela once again. I remember she was the one who was doing module 1 and 2 on Monday, so she's back again doing Women of Worth. And after her, we have the module called Effective Principles of Public Speaking. And that module will be presented to us by Mrs. Nomsa Magagula, who was our presenter yesterday, and we enjoyed it very much. So not to waste any time, I'm going to go straight to Bokholo, as she will begin with a word of prayer and jump straight into her presentation. Over to you, Bokholo, and Karabo, please help with unmuting Bokholo.
There's something wrong with Bokholo's side. Okay, something is not 100% with Boholo. I'm trying to unmute her, but I'm not winning. Okay, yeah, she's unmuted now.
Good evening, everybody. Good evening, everybody.
Okay. Mama Kakula, I've unmuted you. Could you please be the one that starts?
Okay. Good evening, everyone. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Nod if you hear me. Okay.
Yes.
All right. Let's do this.
Mama, you've muted yourself. Please unmute.
Am I fine now?
Yes, you're fine.
Okay. All right. Effective public speaking. All right. Don't despair. Everything will be in order. Don't worry. All right. Today, we are looking at the different types of public speaking. We know that we are not all gifted in speaking in public. Some are scared, but don't worry. Today we are going to learn some principles that can assist you to be a public speaker, to be an effective public speaker. Now, there are three types of public speaking. The first one, we have the speeches that inform. Speeches that inform. You can deliver a speech that inform. In your speech, you'll be explaining something or giving a report, usually during the church board meetings or during the session or at your workplace, in the boardroom when you are required to give a report. You will give a speech that is giving a report. You'll be required to describe something, clarify, define, or demonstrate. These kinds of speeches are called speeches that informs. And then we have speeches that persuade. Now, speeches that persuade are designed to convince someone. They are designed to convince you. The goal is to influence the audience's beliefs or attitudes.
Now, these speeches appeal to the audience's emotions, reason, or sense of right and wrong. Most of the times, the speeches or the sermons that are preached by the pastors are falling under the category of speeches that persuade, because at the end, you'll be persuaded to believe what the pastor is saying. You'll be persuaded to believe in Jesus. You'll be persuaded to believe in the 28 fundamental beliefs. Speeches that persuade. And then we have this other category, the speeches that entertain. These ones, they use humor to influence an audience. Now, the main goal of these speeches is to warm the audience, just like an icebreaker, you know? Now, please note that this is the most difficult presentation because it requires a particular skill, the skill of Tumimurake, the skill of Trevor Noah. Hey, so you must be skilled in this kind of speech. So now you know that there are 3 types of speeches: speeches that inform, speeches that persuade, and speeches that entertain. These ones, they use humor to influence the audience. You are going to laugh your lungs out when you are listening to this kind of speeches. Now, you need to identify your style of speaking. What is your speaking style? Now, there are 3 different presentation styles. The first one is the cool presenter. We have this kind of a presenter that is called the cool presenter. Now, the cool presenter captures the audience attention with clear-headed persuasiveness, cool and calm. Now, during the presentation, things will be orderly and stay under control. Now, such presenters are usually on a mission to deliver their message with dramatic intensity. Now, cool presenters are analytical, they are logical, they are deliberate, they are rational, intellectual, and insightful. And then we have this other kind of a presenter, the hot presenter. Now, this one, he's or she is all over the place. I tell you, this presenter can blow the roof off a building. You will probably either like or dislike this kind of a speaker, the one that is called the hot presenter. Sometimes you would like him or her, or you dislike this presenter, but no one ignores this kind of a speaker because no one cannot notice this speaker. Hot presenter. Now, hot presenters are emotional. They are driven, they are charismatic, they are impulsive and daring. Hot presenters. And then we have dull presenters. A dull presenter, maybe you are thinking that a dull presenter is a presenter who is not sure of himself or herself. These ones, they are afraid of taking risks, so they remain boring. Dull presenters are safe because they are afraid of taking risks, but they don't change much. In the presentation, there is nothing much that is going to change. The introduction will be the same as the body, and the body the same with the conclusion. There is no climax, there is no anticlimax. Dull, 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 dull. Now, dull presenters are catchers. They are predictable. Maybe you know, you'll be able to finish the sentence when there is a dull presenter. So what kind of a presenter are you? Are you a cool presenter? Are you a hot presenter? Or are you a dull presenter? Now, let us deliver the goods now. Now, when you are presenting in public, you are delivering a speech. There are different kinds of ways, there are different methods of delivering goods. You can deliver the goods using a motorbike, like the pizza. They also deliver using a bike. You can deliver the goods by using a small bakkie or a van or a 2-ton van. It doesn't matter as long as you know what is it that you are delivering. It depends on the amount of the load that you are delivering. Now, a speech can be delivered in 4 basic methods. In 4 basic methods. Number 1, you can read a manuscript verbatim. When you are reading a manuscript verbatim, it means you are reading word for word. A manuscript that is read has several disadvantages. When you are reading, it means your eyes are going to be glued in the script that you are reading. You need tact and a skill when you are presenting a speech that where you are going to be reading the words as they are, word for word. You need to have the tact of the aloud reading aloud. We are doing that at school, reading aloud. When you are reading aloud, you are giving some skills as to how to read aloud. As you are reading, you keep on looking at your audience. So you need a skill to be able to know how to switch from looking at your script and also looking at your audience. Reading a manuscript verbatim is another form of delivering the good. You can also recite from memory. Yeah. There's a man called Daniel Webster. I think you all know him. He's the author of the Webster Dictionary. Now, this kind of a person, this guy, used to thrill the audience for 3, 4 or 5 hours. People will be glued listening to him when he delivers his speeches. That is why he was able to develop this dictionary, because it was a walking dictionary. What do you expect from a walking dictionary? All the words that are in his brain, he can be able to recite and memorize. Even more incredible, he often spoke without using any notes, like some of us. We are using notes, we depend on the notes so that we can remember from time to time. Sometimes you can see pastors using notes. Some of them are using notes so that they can be able to remember what is the next line of thought. But there are those who cannot be able to do that. It's another way of delivering a speech. So we cannot be confined in one way of delivering a speech or one way of presenting. There are 4 basic methods of presenting. Now, the disadvantage of reciting from memory is that sometimes you lose your audience because you'll be focusing mostly on what you are reading than focusing on your audience. So there is one disadvantage. Memorizing a speech can also result in an unnatural wooden sounding delivery, like the wooden mic. Yeah, speaking impromptu, we call this impromptu speeches. Impromptu speeches are speeches that are unprepared. Here, the speaker speaks without preparation and without the use of notes. You are called just a now, just like a now trio or a now quartet. You are called just now. Mam Ruti, can you please come and say 1 or 2 words? You are not prepared. Can you please come, stand up and greet your church? You don't just greet by waving. You have to come and say 1 or 2 words. That is an impromptu speech. Now, let's try this one. The last one is called the extemporaneously or the extemporaneous speech. This one is another type of a speech. Most of us will speak extemporaneously. Most of us, we can be able to do that. You can be called to speak because usually that's what we do. You can meet a friend and you start speaking without preparing anything, without having some notes. This is another kind of a speech that you can deliver. Now, let's see. You need to be organized as a speaker. Yesterday, we talked about organization. You need to be organized and be organized. If you are not organized as a speaker, you'll be seen as an incompetent speaker or not trustworthy. No one is going to trust you because you are not organized. Everything is all over the place. Look at the books, that the way they are stacked. Can you see how organized they are? You need to be organized as a speaker. You need to have the introduction. You need to have the body. You need also to have the conclusion. Conclude. When you say in conclusion, you must conclude indeed. How long should a talk be? Abraham Lincoln was one of a person that one man that you know is a famous man. He once asked a question: how long a man's legs should be? And the answer was long enough to reach the ground. So if you can be able to bring your message across in 15 minutes, why do you take 30 minutes? And your message, the message is there. You've made your point. You must conclude because you've made your what? Your point. The truth is that no one likes a speech that runs too long. Even if your speech is so interesting, the audience wants the speech to end. Stand up, speak up, and sit down. Now, there are different kinds of audiences that encounter. It's important, imperative that you know your audience. Who is in your audience? Sometimes in your audience, they're curious. There are presidents, there are directors. These are the people that you need to recognize when you stand up and you know that there are superiors in your audience. You need to recognize them so that they feel at home. You can even ask them to stand up like they usually do when there are pastors. We have Mam Ruti and Muruti and Mam Ruti, so and so. We are going to ask them to stand up, and then we stand up and we wave. You are recognizing that there is a pastor, there is a superior, there is a president in the room. Sometimes there are peers in the audience. The audience might be might be composed of peers. You need the language that you are going to use is going to be different from the language that you are going to use when you are among superiors. You gather yourself, okay? It's simple because there are presidents around you. Sometimes you might be engaged with your team members. There is mutual respect. Speak, you know how to listen to them. You give them a chance when they speak so that you are also listened to when you speak. There are people sometimes of special interest. There is a group that has special interest. Maybe in your audience, you might find that you are going to address single mothers, or you are going to address divorcees, or you are going to address widows, or any other a group that is sensitive. Your language is supposed to be appropriate and address the needs of that particular group. Sometimes you might have mixed groups in your audience. Then you need to juggle around so that everybody is covered, everybody is reached in your audience. You must know your audience. Who is in your audience? Time now to outline. Now, when you outline your speech, you need to gather information, make a research, gather materials so that they can assist you to prepare your speech. You need to give example. You must cite examples in your speech, and the examples that you are citing must be relevant to what you are talking about. They must be relevant to the topic. Now, with examples, ideas become specific, personal, and lively. The statistics. Maybe in your speech you'll be presenting the statistics. The statistics must be precise, must be correct. You must not give us numbers that are not there. We always see when they are reporting as to how many people are infected with COVID-19 in South Africa. We always get the accurate numbers, accurate statistics is important. And then we have testimony. Testimonies, no one can judge you because it's your testimony. If you are called to make a testimony, no one would say, you are lying. It's your testimony. You are the one who experienced the testimony. So a testimony is another kind of a speech that you can deliver. Right. The preparation outline. Now, when you outline your speech, this is the structure of a speech. There must be an introduction, there must be the body, and the conclusion. Now, in the body, you need to give us, maybe in the first 2 paragraphs, there must be the main point, and you have the sub-points in the rest of the paragraphs. The body is important. The body is the gist of what you want to tell us. Now, in the introduction, you only telling us what you are going to tell us in the body. What is it that you are about? Why are you standing there? You are telling us the purpose of the speech. And the conclusion means that you need to conclude. In conclusion must be in conclusion. There must be no for in conclusion. As I conclude, brothers and sisters, when I conclude, it must be one conclusion. There is only one conclusion. This is the outline of a speech. Right. What you need to build first is the body. Gather all the information that you need to tell us about. Everything must be in the body. Build up. Can you see all the bricks that are laid up there? Building the body. That's the first thing that you need to build. When your body is intact, then you won't have a problem in designing or in coming up with the introduction and the conclusion. Because in the introduction, you'll be telling us as to what is it that we need to expect from your speech. And in the conclusion, you are recapping about what you told us in the body. So the body is the main item that needs to be built in your speech. The introduction prepares us for the beginning, prepares the listeners for what is coming. And the conclusion is recapping to what was said earlier. Now, there are 3 things that you need to do at the very beginning before you start speaking or before you deliver your gist or your body. Get the attention of the audience. You must arrest the audience with a statement, a powerful statement from Nelson Mandela or from Ellen G. White. A powerful statement will make the audience to want to listen to what you are saying. Arouse curiosity. They must want to know. You want to see. Let's sit and listen. What is this speaker going to tell us? Get the attention of the audience. The conclusion there are two major functions of the conclusion. The conclusion will let the audience know that you are ending. In conclusion, then they'll know, oh, okay, now we are going to be out. The pastor or the speaker is going to end now. You are preparing them, you are telling them that now I am ending. The conclusion reinforces the central idea which is in the body. Visual aids. It is said that one picture is worth 1,000 words. Only one picture. If you say a picture can tell you the whole story. Now, here is an analogy, an analysis. Now, when you are using visual aids, the audience is going to benefit more than when you are not using the visual aids. Let us look at the statistics. 82% of what you said when you are using visual aids, 82% of what you said will be remembered within 24 hours. And 62% of what you said will be remembered in 3 weeks later. But without the visual aids, when you are not using the visual aids, only 62, compare 62 and 82. Can you see the gap? 62% of what you said will be remembered within 24 hours, whereas 20%, only 20% from 62%, or 20%, 3 weeks later will be remembered by your audience. So visual aids, like I said, one picture is worth 1,000 words. So visual aids are helpful when you are presenting. Now, these are the tips for using visual aids. Avoid writing on a chalkboard. Hey, I have an experience. As a teacher, as soon as you start writing on the chalkboard, the children will start misbehaving behind you. Or maybe sometimes there's something wrong with your shoe or something wrong with your skirt. Just think what is going to happen when you are giving your children your back and start writing on the chalkboard. So avoid writing on a chalkboard. When you are presenting, look at your audience and everything else must be in front of you. Prepare visuals in advance. If you are going to use visual aids, you must prepare them in time in advance. Make them large enough so that everyone can be able to see them. Display them where they can be seen. Everyone wants to see. Sometimes when we are in the church, we are presenting and you are displaying something there. There are those who are wearing big hats. You are trying to look, you're trying to check. You can't be able to see. Display the visual aids where everyone can be able to see. Display aids only while discussing them. Because if you display them before you speak, people are going to glue their eyes on the visual aid and forget about what you are saying. So please take care of these tips when you are using visual aids. Talk to the audience, not to the visual aids. Don't look at the visual aids and concentrate on them. You have an audience that you need to concentrate on. Talk to them, not to the visual aids. Practice with visual aids. Practice makes perfect. You need to practice. And these things, sometimes the technology is not working well. Hearing technology, your practice before you come before the people if you are going to use technology. Use real objects. It makes good visuals. You can use computer graphics if you are computer literate, and you can be able to do that. The computer graphics can enhance the presentation. These are the tips, 10 tips for using visual aids. You need to take care of those. Now about handouts. Usually, when you attend a meeting or a presentation, people will want to get the handouts before the presenter can present. And as the presenter is presenting, they don't care about what you are saying. They are looking at the handouts. You'll hear some saying, okay, and they start chatting on WhatsApp and start doing their own things. Don't give them, don't redistribute the handouts before the presentation. Distribute them after the presentation. That is why we are distributing the handouts after the presentation. Tell the audience that the handouts will be provided at the end. You must warn them. We do have presentations, ladies and gentlemen. However, we are going to present, or we are going to give you at the end of the presentation. Have enough handouts for everyone. This is when you are meeting them in person. But here on Zoom, all the people that have registered are going to get the presentation via WhatsApp. So everyone is covered. Flaps and things. Sometimes you want to say this thing and something else comes out of your mouth. It happens when you are presenting. Sometimes you want to say, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and you find yourself saying, good morning, ladies and gentlemen, in the evening. It doesn't matter. As a speaker, you can correct that with ease. You can say, if you said good morning, I meant to say, I beg your pardon, I meant to say good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Did you hear our Minister of Basic Education? It was going to be easy if she said, while she was busy saying COVID-19, she was just supposed to say, I beg your pardon, a fellow South African, it's not COVID-19, but it is COVID-19, not COVID-19. Or when someone says, the Minister of Health is going to provide us with vibrators. No, fellow South African, I don't mean vibrators, but I meant ventilators. Flaps and things happen when you present in front of people, but you can correct that with a smile, and people are going to forget about the flaps. That if you don't correct them at the same instantly, people are going to make some videos and some clips making fun of what you said, of the mistake that you said. Right. Let us look at the body language. Body language is what you do with your body without saying a word. Now, if you compare between the body language and the words that are said, you find that there is a big margin, because verbally, when you speak, the words that you say only takes 7%. People will understand only 7% of what you said with your mouth. The tone of your voice is 38%. That is why when we are yelling at our children, they act quickly because of this 38%. And there is non-verbal clues, the body language. When you say something without a word, using your face, using your mouth, or any posture that you display will say a lot. If you don't want what I'm saying, or if you don't, you are bored about what I'm saying, your body language is going to tell. I'm going to see, and I can see you. I see your body language. So 55% of non-verbal can say a lot about what is in your mind. So be careful of your body language. The posture and the hand gestures. Keep your hands by the side when you are presenting. Keep your hands, when you are not using them, keep them on the side. Do not place your hands on the podium. Don't sleep on the podium when you are presenting. Hand gestures should be about the chest level, at the chest level. Don't put your hands all over the show. Open hands convey openness and encourages trust. When you are speaking, your hands must be open. Don't be a John Tate. Don't clench your fists. Open your hands to show that you are open and people are going to be encouraged to trust you. All right, eye contact. Now, when you are presenting, remember I said the disadvantage of reading through a script is that you are going to lose your audience because you are not going to be able to have eye contact with your audience. You won't be able to see or look at your audience because you need to know your audience. Look at your audience. You must know when they are bored. You must know if they say, now you need to end. So eye contact is very important. Now, buildings are not the same. Rooms are not the same. There are rooms that are having 3 sections, others are having 5 sections. It is the duty of the presenter to concentrate in all the sections that are there in the room. If there are 3 sections, your eyes should look at those that are in section 1, you must look at those that are in the middle, you must look at those that are in section 3. If you are having a room that is having 5 sections, make it a point that your eyes go all over all the sections that are there. If there is a balcony, you must also throw your eyes and address the people that are in the balcony. Eye contact is very important. Facial expressions. Woo. Smile before you begin speaking so that you make your audience to be at ease. Smile and smile. Initial feelings an audience gets from a speaker comes through the facial expression. If you were coerced to come and present here, we are going to see you. If you did not want and someone forced you to come and present, we are going to see you. You are going to see the facial expression. We will read you before you even speak. So be yourself and be careful of your facial expression. The winning conversation. Now, the purpose of a speech is to win, okay? To win your audience. Now, the tone of your voice can draw others towards you or they can push people away from you. Be mindful of the tone of voice. If you can come in, you are preparing, you've prepared a speech and before in your introduction you say, "Good morning, ladies and gentlemen." Woo! Some of the people are going to be pushed away. Be kind. Take care of the tone of your voice. A word may be a word, but how it is received, it depends on how it is said. The words that you say, you must say them with caution. Say them nicely so that you make your audience to be comfortable. Meaning is given to words by the sender, okay? You as the speaker, you are a sender. You are sending words to the audience. So the audience is going to interpret the words the way you said them, the way you delivered. Do you still remember the delivery kind of a speech, the way you deliver your speech? So the way you deliver or the way you say your words is going to be the way your audience is going to interpret what you say. Lag time. Now, this is the time between what you said and what has been received, between the said words and the interpretation of what was said. Now, an average speaker can speak between 100 to 150 words per minute. Is there anyone who can speak 100 to 150 words per minute? I think the gentleman can do that. But ladies, I don't think so. There are slow speakers. A slow speaker speaks between 80 to 90 words per minute. There are those who are slow, there are those who are average. If you are an average speaker, it means you need to be speaking around the 100 and 150 words. Fast speakers like Bukhulu, they speak up to 170 words per minute. And we as people, we can be able to listen to between 450 to 600 words per minute. So it means we can think 5 times faster than we can talk. Okay, so before you talk, you need to think. Think before you leap. Listen before you respond. Be a good listener. Now, a fast talker, as compared to the one who is speaking very slow. Sister White in Testimonies, volume 4, page 405 says, those who talk rapidly from the throat, I'm trying to remove this so that I can be able to see. Those who talk rapidly from the throat, jumbling the words together and raising their voices to an unnaturally high pitch, they soon become hoarse. Your voice is going to be hoarse because the pitch is so high. And the words spoken lose half the force which they would have if spoken slowly, distinctly, and not so loud. So take time and speak slowly. There are places where, or there are areas where you need to speak very fast. It depends on the situation at that time. Practice, practice, practice. Practice makes perfect. Prepare speaking in advance. Before you speak, you need to prepare your speaking outline. Your introduction must be in order. Your body must be in order. Your conclusion must be in order. Prepare in advance and practice aloud. Practice what you are going to say in front of the people, alone in front of the mirror. They do that. The pastors do that. I've seen Pastor Makakula doing that, practicing in front of the mirror. You need to practice, practice, practice. Polish and refine your delivery and present under similar conditions. You can present whether there are people or there are no people. Present the same way you are going to present in front of the people. The purpose of introduction, we did talk about the purpose of introduction. This is a repetition. It builds enthusiasm for the speaker. It also builds enthusiasm for the topic that you are going to present. It also establishes a welcoming atmosphere. It also boosts the credibility of the speaker. So the introduction is as important as the body and the conclusion. Remember the following points. Check your facts for accuracy. Remember, the statistics must be accurate. So check your facts for accuracy. Adapt remarks to the occasion. If it's a funeral occasion, the remarks must be appropriate. They must be relevant to the occasion. Adapt the remarks to the audience. If you are addressing the superiors, your remarks must be appropriate to the audience that you are addressing. Create a sense of anticipation when you are presenting, when you are preparing your speech. Now, there are different room settings. I'm not going to dwell on them. I'm just going to show you the slide so that you can see that you can, this is how I can make the create the setup in my room. The speaker is there. Everyone can be able to see the speaker. There's a podium and the audience is sitting around. This is one room setting. This is another type of a setting where people are sitting around. Maybe this one is a very big hall. Can you see the seating arrangement? And then there is this one, conference style type of a seating arrangement. We have the U-shaped style seating arrangement. This is the circle one, like we are in the wedding or you are in a conference, you can sit this way. This is another type of sitting style. There is another one, the classroom style. The chevron style is like this one. These are just a sitting style. The purpose of this is that you must be able to know and see where you are supposed to be as a leader or as a presenter, so that everyone in the room can be able to see you. Where are you supposed to display your visuals so that everyone can be able to see them? Where are you supposed to put the refreshments? You need to put them there at the back. Just imagine if the refreshments were in front there and everyone wants to go and make some tea in front. So this is the setup, an ideal setup. You need to go there first and check as to how is the setup of the room where you are going to present. Other room considerations. You need to consider the personal space. There must be space. Now we are talking about the what is it called? Social distancing. There must be social distancing in the room, 1 meter away, if you are going to present during this time, during this COVID-19 lockout. But under normal circumstances, if possible, make it a point that the people are able to move with ease. The space is enough in the room. The platform is elevated enough so that everyone can be able to see you. And the room temperature is normal. If it is very cold during that day, on that day, make it a point that the room is moderate and warm. Not very warm, because if it is very warm, people are going to slumber and sleep. You are going to speak alone. You are going to present alone. If it is very hot, the room must be moderate. The room must be cool so that no one is going to struggle to say, hey, this room is very hot, and they keep on going outside striving for fresh air. So make it a point that the room temperature is adequate during that particular time, if it is hot or when it is very cold. The hostess must be there. There must be someone or ushers who are going to lead us, who are going to show us where to sit so that there is order in the room. The recorded music can be there. If you have people that are skilled, you have DVDs or CDs that you can play so that you prepare the room, or you prepare the audience to listen to you. That can be accommodated as well. Arrive early. It is important. Arrive on time. We must not wait for you. The audience must not wait for you. You are still coming. And now you are running. Everything is falling apart. You will be restless. You won't be able to present appropriately if you do not arrive on time. Arrive on time so that everything is fixed. You can see, okay, this is where I'm going to put this. This is where I'm going to put, this is where I'm going to project whatever I am presenting. Let's now talk about personal appearance. Avoid fabrics that wrinkle. Abo mashwabana. Because you might iron your beautiful suit, the linen suit, and it will look good when you leave home. But by the time you arrive where you are going, you will be wrinkled. Ne? So avoid those. These ones that we call them the the nylon clothes that you do not iron, the wash and wear. Yeah, that's the way. The wash and wear. Wear a dress or a business suit when you are going to present. Empty your pockets. Don't go there with your pockets full of things, full of cell phone and other things. Empty your pockets. Leave your handbag at your seat if it is safe to do so. If it is not safe to do so, ask someone to carry your bag. But you need to leave it on your seat if it is safe, so that you don't carry your bag to the podium. I've never seen pastors or Pastor Malaka carrying their bags to the pulpit. Leave the bag on the seat. Use professional colors like black, like navy blue, like brown. Those are professional colors. They are not too wild like other greens and other oranges. Become. Tailored looks gives more authority. Choose comfortable shoes. Hey, choose comfortable shoes when you are presenting. Avoid wearing shoes that are going to pinch you, that are going to make you uncomfortable, and you wish to end your presentation before time. Dressing appropriately for a presentation cannot be stressed enough. Not only does it give you a credible first impression with your listeners, but when you know you are dressed appropriately, you can forget about your appearance. You are going to forget that this skirt is like this and keep on and pulling it down. Dress appropriately so that you are not going to, so that you don't focus on your appearance, but you focus on the audience. Right. Ellen White says in Messages to Young People, the outside appearance is frequently an index to the mind. The way you look outside tells us a lot about you, tells us a lot about your inside. And we should be careful what signs we hang out for the world to judge of our faith. This is Ellen White. The way we dress, people must not judge our faith. They must know that we are Christians. Gagate vele, we are Christian women. Right. The posture, the appearance now. Sit up straight, stand up straight, and maintain good posture when you are presenting. Sitting, now maybe you'll be sitting there, you'll be seated there as one member of the panel. Keep your hands quiet and on your lap. Put them on your lap. I cannot be able to demonstrate because I can't see you. Keep your knees together, smoza. Keep your knees together. Place your feet out slightly further than your knees. Put them there. Keep the sole of your shoes on the floor. Never, ever cross your legs on the platform. Don't shy fall. Don't shy fall on the platform because you are going to see other things that you are not supposed to see. When you are standing, you should stand gracefully, okay? Stand gracefully, stand appropriately so that we don't see what we are not supposed to see. Your hands should be at rest in the graceful position, not behind your back. With your elbows close to your side, hands at your waist, and both palms up in an easy, comfortable position to assume. It is an easy and comfortable position to assume if you do that. When you are ascending the stairs, sometimes we need someone to help us, Tina, who are senior citizens. We need someone to help us, to assist us when we are descending the stairs. Pause for a second or two before beginning, okay? Bend your knees, keep your knees slightly bent. Do not watch your feet. Rest your hand on someone or on the rails, okay? So that you can be able to descend the stairs appropriately. Using the podium now. Do not put your hands on the podium. We said this one. Do not lean on the podium. Check the podium's height. Check the height. If you are short, you'll be able, if you visit the room where you are going to present before everyone else visit or before everyone else come, you'll be able to notice that the podium is not suitable for you. Then you are going to be able to adjust it accordingly, according to your height. So check the podium before you start presenting. When using a microphone, don't use a hand microphone. Ngapha you are busy with the microphone, ngapha you are busy with the papers, so you are trying to open the papers. Rather use a lapel, this small microphone that is attached to you so that you can be able to move with ease. Prepare as if you had no mic, because sometimes the technology will fail you. So as you prepare at home, you must prepare as though there is no mic. Adjust the mic before speaking. The person who is doing the sound system, you must communicate with the person so that you can be able to check from time to time as to whether you are audible enough or you are not audible, so that this person can assist you to adjust the mic. Don't allow the mic to block your face. Beware of other noises, because sometimes there are other noises. There are people that are, there are things that you are carrying, the papers that we are carrying can make a noise when you are using a mic, when you have a mic. Maybe you have a phone in your pocket and the phone will start ringing. The mic will pick up that sound. Or maybe there's something that is happening next to you. Please beware of those sounds that are around you. If you can give your talk without a mic, by all means do that. You will save yourself many potential problems. Many technical problems are going to be solved if you are not using a mic. It will give you more freedom to move around, be expressive, and be genuine. So if it happens, if you can be able to use to speak without a mic, do that. However, if you cannot speak without a mic, make it a point that you follow the previous admonitions that we saw. Overcoming stage fright. Look at them. They are under the table. They are afraid. Some fear their audience. Maybe you are one of them. You fear your audience. And the more you fear the audience, the more nervous you become. You will be shivering and nervous if you fear your audience. All right, now these are the tips that can assist you to overcome fear. Pick your own subject matter. Choose the topic that you are conversant with. Choose a subject matter that you know well, that you know best. Follow the as if principle. Speak as if there's no tomorrow. Put on a happy face, eh? Put on a happy face. You must follow the as if principle. You must look as if you are confident and you are not scared, okay? Think positively. Put your audience as friends. Don't be afraid of them. They are your friends. No apologies. Don't stand up and say, ladies and gentlemen, I wish to apologize. The director did not give me enough time to prepare. So please bear with me if I fumble a little bit. No apologies. Get to the point and sit down. Stand up, speak up, and sit down. Pray again and again and again and again if you fear your audience. Believe it or not, stage fright has its good points. Fear produces the energy, and you can draw on that energy and enthusiasm to help you give a more powerful presentation. If you have fear, then you will be pushed to try and practice and practice and practice so that you present a powerful presentation. So stage fright helps a little bit to boost you to present a powerful presentation. Credibility. One of your prime objectives when speaking to the audience is to establish credibility and goodwill. People must believe in you. They must trust in you after speaking so that they can be able to call you again to say, hey, Mruti, can you please come next week? We are having a presentation that we want you to do for us because you were credible and now people trust you. They believe in you. If things don't go quite as well as you had hoped for, do not be discouraged, okay? Like all skills, you will get better each time you make a presentation. Practice, 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 and you are going to be better and better every day. Remember, great ideas and information causes great things to happen. Keep growing and building confidence and skill as a public speaker. This will help you. It will enrich your life and the lives of all those in the audience. Your presentations might help someone to trust in Jesus, might help someone to believe in Christ, might help someone to believe in the second coming of Jesus Christ. It is a wonderful feeling to realize that God has used you to touch people's lives. You can be able to touch a life with your speech. So please do not panic. Pray about it and pray every day, and God will help you, and He alone can be able to make you a good presenter. May God bless you all. Amen.
Thank you so much, Mama Nomsa. That was brilliant. When you did your introduction, there was a part where you were saying you can see different speakers, how they're gifted. And I can definitely see some Tumi Morake and some Trevor Noah in you. Killing kids, hecha. Thank you so much. And we loved your examples. They were so practical. When I'm walking up the stage, I should look presentable. Thank you so much, Mama Nomsa. So right now we are going to get into Bukholo's presentation. God has blessed Bukholo with a very loving husband. So tonight, don't be surprised, you won't see Bukholo Ntombela, but you will see Siyabonga Ntombela, and that will be Bukholo continuing with the presentation that is titled Women of Worth. Karabo, can you assist us with unmuting Siyabonga Ntombela?
Hi, Karabo, could you please open the video as well? Thank you. Good evening, everybody, once again. Hopefully this time around, we will be able to do our presentation. So as Muruti has already said, our presentation for this evening is A Woman of Worth. The subtitle is Repairing Your Self-Esteem. So if we are repairing a self-esteem, it means that it was once there, right? And something happened that caused your self-esteem to diminish, so that it is no longer what it used to be. So as women, we all have had those moments whereby your self-esteem was high. As girls, as young girls at least, you know, you had a high self-esteem at some point. That is why when you have a graduation or a concert, yeah, children in grade R, you remember how loud they are, you know, when they do their maybe their Bible verses, and Jesus grew in wisdom and stature, right? But as they become teenagers, their voices become a bit loud, a bit dimmed, you know, they're not so confident and robust anymore. So if we are repairing a self-esteem, it means at some point your self-esteem was at a high, but something then happened to cause it to decrease, right? And not be as high as it used to be. Right. A story is told about an inferior puppy, right? So this puppy is a new puppy. Farmer Brown has just bought the puppy, and the puppy now is introducing herself to the other animals, right? So the puppy starts with the horse. Hi, horsey. And the horse says, whoo, but who are you? Well, you will never be as good as me. Do you know that Farmer Brown rides on top of me all day long, and I help him to do the farming all around the farm? Well, now you are so useless. There's no good that can come out of you. Now the puppy goes to the cow feeling so despondent, right? And hanging her head in shame. Hi, Mr. Cow and Mrs. Cow. And Mrs. Cow says, who are you? You will never be as good as me. You know why? Because I give Farmer Brown milk every single day for him to be able to make a dairy product and all these nice things. So you will just never be as good as me. Hey, poor puppy is sad again, and she moves now to the sheep. Hi, sheep, how are you? Nay, who are you? You will never be as good as me. I give Farmer Brown some good wool, right? So the sheep is also giving her a hard time that she gives Farmer Brown wool. So what are you gonna do, puppy? Hey, the puppy walks over to the cat and say, hi, kitty. And the cat says, meow. I catch all the mice around the farm so that they don't bother Mr. Brown's crop. So now what good can you bring to this farm, right? Again, the poor puppy goes now to the chicken, right? Gets to the hen, and the hen says, yo, now I lay eggs for Farmer Brown. What can you do? Cannot get better than that, right? So every time the puppy goes to a new animal, the animal would recite how much better that they are than the puppy. And the puppy was despondent and feeling hurt, right? So one by one, the animals told the puppy why she had no chance of success on the farm, right? Why don't you figure out what you can do to be the best that you can be, right? And that's the problem. The problem, what caused the puppy to walk around feeling less than or inferior was the fact that the puppy wanted to compare herself to another animal on the farm so that she can somehow gain significance to say, hey, at least I'm better than who. And that is exactly what all the other animals were doing, comparing themselves to other animals. That now I'm a horse, at least I'm the one that gets to take Farmer Brown around the farm. But when Farmer Brown came home that day, the first thing he did was run to the puppy and give the puppy a hug and says, I'm so glad that you are here, puppy. There's no one who makes my heart jump for joy like you because you are a man's best friend, right? So now all the other animals are surprised, but more so the puppy, that, oh my goodness. So I do have value. So I do have worth. So for the first time, the puppy could now see herself through the eyes of the farmer, that as much as you feel inadequate, you feel less than, but you are actually of great value, right? The master of the farm values you, sees something in you that you don't even see in yourself. So she saw herself through the master's eyes and realized she was a success after all. Can you see yourself in this parable? I think a lot of us can relate to it, right? You walk into a work, first day of work. The first thing you do, you gauge the room to say, I'm dressed to kill. Let's see who's dressed better than me. Don't we do that, right? You already want to see who at least can you feel better about. Right? I might not have the expensive jacket, but I have a nice jacket. It's better than this one who doesn't even have a jacket, right? And we often see or find ourselves doing such things, and that is as a result of low self-esteem. So comparison is a fruit of low self-esteem. Or looking at some of your people that you went to school with, right? We would say, yo, Banibani is staying in Senton. And then you'll hear another one say, no, she married a rich husband. That's why, right? Now you feel better. Or, oh, no, so it's not her success. It's the husband's success. It's fine. I'm not so hurt. Like people's success hurts us because of our low self-esteem. So when you feel hurt by what the good things that other people are doing in their lives, then you must realize that it's just a result of your own issues and a low level of self-esteem. So the statistics say that 65% of people today suffer from low self-esteem, right? So self-esteem is the single greatest need facing the human race, right? And it's not just a female epidemic, though it hits us a lot as females more than it does our male counterparts, but it's a phenomenon that affects all of us, but more so us. I think especially as Black women, because when you look at us, you're not only competing as a woman. Hi, ma'am. Oh, is it not sharing? Oh, yikes. Okay, please ask Karabo to do it. Apologies. I was under the impression that my screen is being shared. Karabo, please share the screen for me.
All right, hold on.
Apologies about that. I'm on the 5th slide. The sixth one. Right. So as I was saying, that 65% of people suffer from a low self-esteem, that it is not just limited to men, to women, but it is also men who also suffer from low self-esteem. And it is as a result of many things that might have happened in our lives, right? For some people, it's maybe that they were raped as kids in their lives, and that has broken you and taken away your innocence and your sense of worth and your sense of value, because you feel like people can do whatever they want to me, so I have no value. So it diminishes your sense of worth. Or as somebody who has heard somebody say, you, especially towards a girl child, right? You talk too much, wapapa, right? So now that vivacious, outspoken girl becomes so becomes muted and becomes scared to express herself, because she fears that when she expresses herself, it's not well received, because she is told wapapa. Or even in the workplace, you walk into the workplace, you are a confident woman, and when you do some of the things that men are doing, when a man is vocal in the boardroom, he is called ambitious and he is called assertive. But when you become vocal in the boardroom, are labeled as overly ambitious or aggressive, right? So those are some of the toils and hardships that we face as women by just virtue of being a woman. So today the presentation is basically saying we want to emphasize the fact that there is more to you than what the world wants to label you with, right? So these are some of the symptoms of low self-esteem. And you will see why we say most of us have it or have had it at some point in our lives, because one or more of these symptoms you will relate to. So it says a sense of, can I go previous screen first, please, Karabo? Okay, a sense of unworthiness, right? So that's the first one, that the first symptom of a low self-esteem, you feel unworthy. Like people in the workplace will say it is called imposter syndrome. Like, so you are in the boardroom and you're already feeling like I should not even be here. You feel like you don't deserve a place at the table, but you do. So you have this sense of unworthiness. So today we are showing that you do deserve to sit there. Or difficulty relating to people, like you cannot relate to other people, right? You rather keep to yourself because you feel like the moment you try to put yourself out there, people don't receive you well. So you struggle to relate with people. Or perfectionism, right? This one is one that shocked me, but it made sense. So everything has to be perfect all the time. You know, so you are OCD, you know, if anything is out of place, like it doesn't sit well with you, it must be perfect. So it's perfection or nothing. And we all know that things can never ever be 100% perfect. So this person is overcompensating for a lack that they feel in their lives. So if they feel inadequate in one aspect, then they will try to be perfect, absolutely perfect in another aspect, to veil or cover or close their inadequacy, right? And then inappropriate emotional responses, like a person who just doesn't know how to respond. And this is something that you would expect from a child and not an adult, right? For example, a visitor comes to the house, you'd expect a child to say, when are you going? You know, and it would be embarrassing, but because of the lack of emotional intelligence that a child possesses, you expect that. So, but a person who has not developed fully emotionally would then also be an adult who gives inappropriate emotional responses. Or somebody is coming and they're crying and you say, hey, keep quiet, you've been crying for so long. So you are unable to comfort others because of your own inadequacies. And then another aspect is fear, right? So because you are driven by fear, you are unable to do or be the best that you can be because you are scared. So whenever even an opportunity comes, you are scared to even take the opportunity because you somehow feel like it's too much. What if I fail? So you rest on the what ifs so much that you are unable to do anything good because you associate your sense of worth with failure. So you have it drives you to fear. And then touchiness and irritability, right? Abantu who like to say, yeah, mina very touches the move. Once you do this, I will best. I will just best. So anything irritates you. So you're not a person who is easy to get along with because you are overly touchy. You are. Hey, people have to walk around eggshells around you because they know how you are. That at one move, you are ready to burst. So it's a protective layer that you put up, so that, or protective wall that you put up, so that people don't see just how vulnerable you actually are. So that is why you say, I'm like that, Navelle touches the move, right? And then inordinate concern of others' opinions, the Batubataring syndrome, right? So you care too much about what others will say. And it's also the people who say, hey, today I want to dress to kill, right? And if nobody says, hey, you were beautiful today, you'll be so crushed, because you dressed so that others can take notice and so that others can say, oh, you look beautiful, right? And it's the reason that some women even stay in abusive marriages, because they are scared of what will people say. So they would rather even reach a point of death than face life alone because of fear of what will people say. Or even a mother whose teenage daughter falls pregnant says, no, it's better we abort, because she's making this child's pregnancy about her self-image and what people will say about her, right? So that is also a reflection of a low self-esteem, that I cannot let you carry on this thing. And then a critical spirit. There's nothing that is right in their eyes. These people are people who walk around with a red pen, ready to mark anything and everything with red marks. To say, you know, it was nice, but hey, she was beautiful, but hey, those shoes, hey, this and that, you know, there's always something negative to say. So it's more a reflection of them, because the moment they see something, the first thing they do is try to find something wrong in that thing, so that they feel better. That, yeah, it was nice, but because she didn't have nice shoes, I am better, right? And then a dependency on others. So you never ever take a chance to do anything for yourself. You always feel like, no, all right, let's go as a group. Like, you can never ever do anything for yourself. It must always be group, or you must be second in command to someone. Someone else must be in the forefront, so that when you don't have to take the responsibility of any of the bad result that might happen with that decision. So therefore you want to depend on others, so that if anything goes wrong, they will bear the brunt and not you, right? So that again is as a result of low self-esteem, that you don't even feel like you even have the capability to handle a situation when it goes wrong. And then difficulty accepting compliments. When someone says, oh, you're so beautiful, you look down, you change the subject. Hey, today's hot, man. You can't even take a compliment. You cannot. Or when someone says, you're beautiful, oh, that's a nice jacket. You say, hi, Sham, you want to get from my sister. Nobody asked whether you borrowed it from your sister or not. We were just saying your jacket looks nice. But because you are unable to take compliments, you want to divert or shift the attention somewhere else, right? Or worry. Worry is also a sign of low self-esteem. You're always worried. You are never ever free to just do as you please. Next slide, please, Karabo. So worry is also a sign of low self-esteem, because if you have a high self-esteem and you are reliant heavily on God, then you needn't worry, right? There's a song that we grew up singing, why worry when you can pray, right? But in order for you to pray and even believe in that prayer, you must have a certain level of self-confidence that God will answer my prayer. But if you do not even believe that God can answer your prayer, then you will definitely worry, because you are feeling like, God doesn't even answer me. Now my prayers only reach the roof, right? They don't reach God. That is a result of low self-esteem. So an overly scrupulous conscience, where everything must be done to the T, right? Nothing must be done short measured. So everything must be done to the T, because we're thinking you don't want, when your conscience is forever saying to you, no, don't do this, no, don't do that. So you're overly scrupulous about anything and everything, right? And then a legalist attitude towards God and religion. It's not too far also from an overly scrupulous conscience. So a legalist attitude is somebody who says, if you don't do God's will, you're going to burn. And if you want God to love you, then you must keep his commandments. Otherwise, God won't love you, right? So it's coming from a legalistic point of view. Instead of, but God says that while you were yet sinners, I loved you. So such verses irritate those people because they are legalistic. Everything you must do right so that you deserve God's love, so that you earn God's love, so that you must work for salvation, right? So that's a legalist attitude that people have put themselves under as a result of low self-esteem, right? So this is what you would term as filthy rags, because now I cannot just accept God's love. I'm not good enough for it, so I'd rather work for it. You get? So that is a result of low self-esteem. You want to earn it so that it gives you a sense of worth, so that when you get to heaven, you can say, yo, guys, I wasn't eating meat, I was eating patties all the time. I have earned my right to be here in heaven, right? So that is it's a sign of low self-esteem as well. You don't think you are worthy of God's love that comes purely with no restrictions. You just say, I love you. While you were yet sinners, I have loved you so much that I sent my son. Just because I love you, for no other reason. You have done nothing to deserve it, nor will you ever do anything to deserve it. They have a hard time accepting that. And then use of anger as a defense, right? Everything when you're ready to you're an angry person. Everybody knows who you are. This one gets angry very quickly, right? You're a son of thunder, like the Peters of the days, right? So it's as a result of low self-esteem. Again, it's a defense mechanism. It's walls that you put up so that you protect yourself from people. So you chase people away with anger so that they don't come close to you, right? A lack of transparency as well. A lack of transparency is also as a result of you don't want people to see, because you feel that they will then know just how vulnerable you are, and if they know, they will hurt you. So you are using that to protect yourself, right? Which is also what you often find with parents, that they don't want to be transparent with kids, because they don't want to say to kids, I also had sex when I was 16, right? Because of how the child, from fear of how the child will perceive the parent. But if you have forgiven yourself as a parent for having sex at 16, and you have asked for forgiveness from God, and you are at peace and you have overcome it, then you will have no issues saying to your child, listen, my child, do not have sex at 16, because these are the repercussions, and I don't want you to go through this, because I have gone through it. Because you are speaking from a place of victory. You're no longer speaking from a place of low self-esteem. And then workaholism, those people who overwork themselves to a point that when they come into a room and they want to be introduced, as Dr. Ntombela, right? That everybody must know that I'm a doctor. I've worked hard for this title. Therefore, it must be well known. And if anybody does not call me by my title, I feel inadequate. I feel like, how dare they not call me by my title that I've worked so hard for? I deserve to be called Dr. Ntombela, right? So it's as a point of you have ascribed your value to your title, right? So a title is not just a title, and it's not just a what you are, but you have made your title a who you are. So that is why you must work extra hard and work so hard so that your boss can also see that, hey, she works so hard, long hours, I like her, right? So in school setting, you would call those ones teachers' pets. So, and then difficulty expressing emotions. The reason why it becomes difficult to also express emotions is that when you are young, more often than not, rather, let me not limit it to this, but more often than not is that a child who is not heard in the home, a child who is not given a chance to talk and express themselves at home, and whose feelings are not acknowledged at a young age, they will find more difficulty to express it when they are older, because now they build up walls to say, okay, me now when I speak, people don't hear me. So therefore, I need to build up walls that are going to protect me, right, from ever being heard again by these people. And then finding security in material possessions, right? Those ones that feel like if I don't have a designer handbag and designer shoes and a boutique dress, then I'm not good enough. So my clothes and my car and my house is what makes me me. So we want to find a sense of identity, or a sense of worth in these things, because in and of ourselves, we have no worth. It is said that the slaves in America, on a Sunday, when their slave masters would take them to their churches, the slave masters would buy them clothes, right? Nice, beautiful clothes. So on Sundays, they knew that, yo, I'm going to be wearing that beautiful dress that my slave master bought for me. But what they would also do is they would take you to, so as a slave, they would go to another slave master and say, hey, Mama Kakula, did you see my slave today, how beautifully dressed she is, right? So now, as a Black person, your sense of worth comes from what you have put on the outside, and that is where then we derive our sense of worth. That is why even to this day and age, you will find a person in a taxi with a Louis Vuitton bag, and you are wondering, but my sister, you know that bag, you could have deposited a car and got yourself a car, but instead here you are in a taxi wearing expensive clothes, because we ascribe worth with material possessions. That is why we even have terms like what are Jewish, you know? Yeah, you look expensive. And then when you look at the other side of those who actually can afford these clothes, they do not even wear expensive clothes, yet they can afford it, because for them their worth doesn't come from how they look or what they are wearing. So this is why we find ourselves chasing after labels, chasing after expensive cars, chasing after all these things, which now in lockdown have become valueless, because nobody sees you anymore. We don't see your bags, your shoes, your everything, your holidays. We don't see that anymore. So now lockdown has given us an opportunity to reassess and reevaluate. What is it that makes you you? Where do you draw your self-worth from, right? And then your attitude, I'm trying to read, your attitude, the attitude of passivity. So you're just this passive person. You don't spring into action. You don't get things done. Everything is tomorrow. There's always tomorrow. You know, you procrastinate. You're passive. You don't start things. You know, so because out of a fear of, if I started, I might fail, because you associate failure or not being able to do something as you failed. Therefore, if you failed, it's over. But instead of associating failure as a new way of learning how to not do something, right? So because you feel like, everything I touch doesn't come out right, so I rather not do anything. So you become passive. So we often also see it in church, right? Those passive members who time after time, they never ever take up any leadership position, but they're always quick to put down leadership. Hey, leaders don't do this, they don't do that, they don't do this. Yet, they never ever allow themselves to be put in the spotlight of leadership, because they are just so passive, they don't get things done. And that is also as a result of low self-esteem, right? Where they don't feel like they can even get things done, but they've got big mouths. And then a sense of being inferior or superior to others, right? I might not have this, I might not have that, but at least I'm better than Unolo. You know, I might not do this, I might do that, but at least I'm better than Tebegile. You know, so you are now all of a sudden feeling like you are better than others. It is as a result of low self-esteem. Hence, you feel the need to see someone who is inferior to you so that you can feel better. But the reverse is also true. When you feel like, hey, Mina, all these women are just so nice. Hi, Mina, all these women are just so powerful. Mina, I'm not enough. Mina, So you're selling yourself short because you have a low self-esteem. So you feel like you don't belong. You feel like you should not be there. Next next slide, please. So what is all this, right? All of this, every analysis of social or personal sin must recognize that the core of all sinful or social behavior is a conscious or subconscious attempt to feed a person's need from self-esteem, right? So self-esteem is as a result of a need. So everything that is sinful. So our very sinful nature is as a result of self-esteem, right? So think for a while about the origin of self-esteem. You cannot help but come to the conclusion that it is somehow part of the larger sin problem of our planet, right? So it is as a result of sin that we are where we are, right? God created the world perfect. He made a man and a woman in his image, individuals who understood their value as the sons and daughters of God. With the entrance of sin came guilt, came fear, worry, failure, and of course, low self-esteem. Now you feel inadequate. You feel like you're not good enough for salvation. You feel like it is not working out for you. Therefore, why you're not worthy then of salvation, right? So the low self-esteem pandemic is as a result of sin. Next slide, please. So whenever the keys of self-esteem are seemingly out of reach for a large percentage of people, then widespread mental illness, neuroticism, hatred, alcoholism, drug abuse, violence, and social disorder will certainly result or certainly occur, right? So personal worth is not something human beings are free to take or leave. We must have it. And when it is unattainable, everybody suffers. So we must have it. It's something that we need. We need it so that nobody suffers. So this is a quotation from James Dobson, right? From his book, Hide and Seek. So it's something that we must have, because when we don't have it, this is why we will then tend to have addictive behaviors such as drug abuse, or alcoholism, or because we want to fill in this void, or this void of a sense of emptiness, a sense of unworthiness. So to shut up this in us that says you are not good enough, you want to then take in the drugs so that it's an escape. So you use alcoholism and drugs and hatred and all these other things as an escape from dealing with the issues that are reigning terror inside of you, right? So this is why even a man would be violent with a woman. He is feeling inadequate. He is feeling a sense of low self-esteem, and he doesn't know how to regain his worth. And so because he is unable more often than not to challenge you mentally or keep up with you mentally, he will then resort to being violent with you, to being violent and using his fist and allowing his fist to speak for himself, or to help him to assert himself as a man, so that he can feel like, yeah, now I'm a man, right? So those are some of the things that we have, the pandemics that we are suffering from, even femicide that we are struggling with right now. It's men trying to affirm and feel and assert themselves as men, that daughter, you know. So if at work I don't feel like I'm a man, and if at church I don't feel like a man, and nowhere I don't feel like a man, but then let me come home so that at least I can use this one who is inferior to me physically and exert my physical superiority to show that I am a man, so that I can feel like I am a man. So that is also stemming from a low self-esteem where he doesn't know his worth. Next slide, please. So a case study is told about Candace Skep. So this lady, she grew up in America, and she was a typical teenager. She grew up in a family of three, with 3 kids. She's a middle child. She's a teenager, and she grew up with a great fear for her life, was the fear of rejection, right? That no one would want to be her friend. She had a classic case of low self-esteem, which she calls they're not good enough, right? That's what she called herself when she was in her thoughts, that she is not good enough, right? She had already a full-blown case of not good enough when she was 13 years old, right? Which is something that our teenagers suffer from, a sense of low self-esteem, right? She was elated when her and her best friend got a ride to the youth camp within the newlyweds, Tom and Betty's VW bug, right? So back then, VW bug was the in thing. I don't know when you guys, if you remember, just in the 90s, just when VW bug, the latest one, was arriving, and you know, all of us wanted it. So as a teenager, of course, you want to arrive in style, right? So that everybody can see that, yes, I came out of that bag. So it made her happy, it made her friends happy also, that, oh, we're riding in this VW bike, everybody's gonna see us, it's nice, right? And they're laughing and they're having jokes, and it's nice in the car. And then they finally get to the campsite, they come out of the car, and they have their camp, and it's nice. And then when it was days, time for them to go back, unfortunately, the older youth now were in the bag, in the backseat of the VW bag, right? And she was upset, and she felt like, oh my goodness, they're rejecting us, right? Because we came together and we were speaking, and I opened up, and it was nice, and I felt like they're such a great couple, and now they've got this older youth in the car. So she felt rejected, that it means that I'm not good enough. It means that these ones that are in the car are better. So she personalized what had happened, right? And which is a thing that we often do when we have a case of low self-esteem. We tend to personalize what other people do, right? So maybe you offer somebody a drink, and then they say, okay, no, I don't want Coke. Can I please have juice instead? Now you're personalizing it, like, oh, she doesn't want my Coke. Now all of a sudden it's your Coke. But the person is saying, I don't want Coke, I prefer juice. It's nothing to do with you. It's everything to do with the person's preference. But because of our case of low self-esteem, we personalize a person's preference. So, oh, you don't want to do this, you don't want to do that, right? And then the story continues. Next slide, please, Karabo. So she was a middle child, like I said, and she felt that somehow she was inferior, right? Seeking to be a part of the in crowd, right? And appearing in a little rebellious. So what she would do now, she started having piercings. She started having tattoos, so that, you know, she can be in with the crowd, right? She started doing things that would make her more acceptable to her peers. So this is why we find teenagers drinking. This is why we find teenagers going to parties and having fun. They want to fit in. They want to feel accepted, that at least there's somewhere where I feel accepted, which makes it so important that as a family, we should develop traditions of eating a meal together and asking, how was your day? So that the child feels that at home, I'm accepted. At home, I fit in, right? So that they don't have this void or sense of, I don't fit in, and then they want to fit in with crowds. So when you see your teenage child being rebellious, you must know that it's their way of communicating to you that I don't feel accepted by you. I don't feel affirmed by you as my parent. So I'm going to try to get this affirmation and acceptance from my peers. So that is why kids tend to rebel. So it's a time where we need to pray and ask for wisdom, that, Lord, as I am parenting this child, give me the wisdom of how to deal with them such that they feel enough, such that they can accept your salvation wholly and freely without feeling like they are inadequate. Because when you have bought us twice over, when you created us and when you died for us, right? So it's a time where a child is trying to also discover themselves. They don't know what is happening, the hormones and all these things. So this is a time where parents really need to be open and transparent so that the child doesn't feel like whatever they're going through, it is a new thing, that they're going through this phenomenon that is only about them, right? So this is why it is important for mothers to open up and fathers to open up and saying, my child, adolescence does not start with you. I've been through this and this was my experience. So that you become real with them. You're no longer this person who is perfect, right? Because the moment a child sees you as perfect, then you become unrelatable to them when they are in trouble or when they have done wrong. They can't come to a perfect being and say, hey, mama, I drank alcohol yesterday, because when you are perfect. So we need to have to be strategic in how we expose our vulnerability to our kids, so that they know that we are also human and that we are also in need of a savior, that we have not arrived, but we are moving towards arriving, right? So that therefore when they fall, they don't feel like they're scum of the earth, but they know, but even my mom said, but look what is now. She's a great woman now. So that means even me will become great at last or eventually, because I am seeing those that are before me. So our vulnerabilities are not always to our detriment or feeling like the child will not take me seriously, or the child will not respect me. So it's good to be vulnerable, but like I said, prayerfully so that also the child doesn't end up seeing you like, you're a loser. So prayerfully so, and with wisdom, expose your vulnerability to the child so that they are comfortable with you, right? So continuing with the story of Candace. So Candace, because as a result of her low self-esteem, where she felt like she wasn't enough, because being a middle child is tricky, right? Especially me who's got 3 kids. The first one, this is the child that bears all the brunt for everything that they do wrong, right? This is the child that is expected to take care of the other children. This is the deputy parent, right? Everything lies on them. And then the last child is a baby of the family. So this one in the middle feels lost. So those who have 3 kids or more, meaning you've got middle child, make sure that they don't feel like they are not good enough or they are not a part of what is happening in their home, right? So let us make sure that they feel like they fit in. Let them not have the middle child syndrome, right? And then she ended up marrying a guy who she knew the guy was bad for her, but because of her low self-esteem, it was a thing of, hi, at least somebody shows interest in me, let me just date him, and then eventually let me marry him because somebody is showing interest in me when nobody else is, right? Karabo, don't change the slides until I sing, right? So Candace, and then another thing, so Candace was seeking to be in with the crowd, and then she was appearing, okay, the next slide after that one. So Candace didn't lose her case of the not good enoughs when she was an adult, right? Her low self-esteem hit an all-time low, a moment of panic when she actually ended up divorcing this guy, right? Because now the marriage was not working out, so she eventually divorced this guy, but still feeling inadequate, still feeling like the whole divorce was her fault, she's not good enough, and all those things. Next slide, please, Karabo. Then there was a time where they went to a picnic with another couple, Candace and a friend and this couple. When they get to the picnic, they're sitting there and it's nice, and then the wife goes back to the car that I need to fetch a bucket of cold drink or whatever. And then Candace's friend says, hey, I'll go with you. And then Candace says, no, I'll now go get some wood so that we can have a braai. And then the husband says, no, I'll come with you, right? So the husband goes, and while she's going with Candace, he touches Candace on inappropriately, right? Maybe on her lower bum. And Candace, at first, her thoughts were, if I react, then and shout at him, then he will feel like I'm being rude to him, right? Then I will lose his acceptance because he's accepted me, right? But if I leave him also, but then maybe he will be fine with it. But maybe it's my fault. Maybe I'm the one who made him touch my bum, right? And then suddenly, in a moment of clarity, the thought hit her. He's the one who's wrong, not you, right? So his actions have nothing to do with you as Candace. Whether he does this or that that is not on you. It's not a reflection on you, but it's on him than it is on you, right? So that day at the beach, Candace realized that she had made choices largely on what she thought would gain others' approval and not on what she thought would be best for her. So she told, suffice to say, she told the guy off that, hey, listen, brother, can't you are one of those guys who go around touching other women when you have a wife, right? So next slide. Again, on that point, that when somebody has an affair, either a married person having an affair with a single person, or a single person having an affair with a married person, or married having an affair with a married person, it's also as a result of low self-esteem. There's something that you are seeking outside your marriage. There's a validation that you are seeking for. Hence, you want to seek for it outside, and you feel that you will get it. And what often makes women fall prey to married men is that they will say things like, you are better than my wife, right? So my wife doesn't cook for me. Now, all of a sudden, as a mistress, you find yourself cooking for a married man with the thought of, she's not cooking for him, therefore let me cook for him, because she's failing to take care of her husband. But that is as a result of a man realizing that you have this problem of low self-esteem, and he is preying on it and using it to his advantage to get you to do everything that he is saying to you his wife doesn't do. Because you've never spoken to the wife, you don't know what's happening, but he will say those things so that you can he can manipulate you to do and be what he wants you to be. So high self-esteem is needed so that we can realize our worth, that I am too valuable to come second place in a man's life. And then low self-esteem, insecurities, non-assertive personalities, whatever you call it, the effect is the same, right? Fear of rejection, of not gaining others' acceptance or approval is paralyzing. You become a people pleaser, not because you like to see other people happy, but because you hope it will make them like you, right? So you compromise and sacrifice who you are so that others can accept you, and people will prey on you. It's the same also as business. When you are desperate, desperation is a very dangerous place to be in, because people will always take advantage of your desperation. So men, when they realize that you're desperate, they will take advantage of it and do things that are hurtful, because they know she's not going anywhere, Mos. She's desperate, she needs me, right? And even companies at work, they'll take advantage of you to say, no, work longer hours, no, please do this assignment, please do this, please. But they're not giving you extra money, they're not giving you recognition for all the extra work that you are doing, right? But they're expecting it of you because they can see you're desperate to keep the job. Same as even businesses. For those of us who have businesses, clients will come and they'll tell you, I can get it cheaper, Gaban. Now all of a sudden you drop your price because you are desperate for this client, and then they prey on you. So people will take advantage of your desperation, and desperation is dangerous. Please let us try our best not to fall out, not to be desperate. It puts us in such vulnerable positions. Next slide, please, Karabo. Now we come to the solution. Hey, time has gone. Don't listen to the enemy, right? See yourself through the master's eyes. Now remember, the enemy is the negative voice in your head, the one that says, "Hi, Bokholo, you're not good enough. Hi, you can't do that. That's too much for you." Or, "Hi, you're a black woman. There's no place for you at that table." So don't listen to the enemy when he comes with the negative voices. You need to shut those voices down, because you need to start seeing yourself through the eyes of the master, right? That his divine power has given you everything you need for life and godliness. Therefore, you have no right talking down to yourself, because you are God's creation, right? You are fearfully and wonderfully made by God. Next slide, please. So worthy is the acronym that we're going to be dealing with, right? Wake up to your value, right? And own your potential. Remove false standards. Turn failure into success. Handle your negative emotions. Yield yourself to God every day. Next slide, please, Garabo. So wake up to your value. I am somebody's child, a child of God, created in his image. I recall Isaiah 49 verse 1. Before I was born, the Lord called me, right? From my birth, he has made mention of my name. So he knows you by name. Before you were even born, you might have been a surprise to your mother, but you were not a surprise to God. You have always been in his plan. Therefore, you are so valuable that even before you were born, he had created everything in your life in preparation for your birth. So you were created for such a time as this. Nothing has happened by chance or by default. God has prepared the journey that you find yourself in today. Next slide, please. So Jesus died for me. I can do everything through him who gives me strength, right? I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Right? And he didn't die for me because I was worthy. No, he says, while I was yet a sinner, he died for me. So my worth is because of the Jesus who died for me, the Jesus who created me. That is where my worth resides. My worth is not in what I have done or who I am. So when you question your worth, remember whose you are, who you belong to, because that is where your worth is. Next slide, please. So God has a special plan for your life, right? Jeremiah 29 verse 11. For I know the plans that I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you, not to harm you. Plans to give you hope and a future, right? And this verse is written to Jeremiah to give to the children of Israel while they're still stuck in Babylon, right? So while you are in quarantine, right? God is saying, relax. I know the plans that I have for you, right? And those plans are to prosper you. Though some of us are losing our jobs, some of us are maybe even losing our minds in these quarantaneous times. But God says, I know the plans that I have for you, and those plans are for you to prosper. So even when it looks dark and bleak, remember that there's a plan. I might not see it, but there is a plan, and God has that plan, and in good time, he will reveal it. So his plan is not only about prospering us spiritually, but today through this seminar, God wants to prosper us even mentally. That remember, I have a plan for you. Therefore, you cannot walk with your head hung in shame. Your crown will fall, dear princess. Walk with your head up high so that your crown can stay up, because there is a God in heaven who has a plan for you, right? And then the next slide, please, Karabo. He says, not more surely is the place prepared for us in heavenly mansions than is the special place designed on earth where we are to work for God. This is from Christ's object lesson, right? So as much as there is a heaven to look forward to, but even here on earth, God has designed a place for us where God can work through us and in us, right? All we need to do is yield to God, that he may do, that he who has begun a good work in us may see it to completion. Next slide, please, Karabo. God sees you as a winner, right? So success is stretching towards your full potential through Christ who enables you. Success is growing to be all that God has gifted you to become. How dare then you walk like somebody who has failed? How dare you? God has created you to be a winner. He has created you as a victor. Your victory was there before you were even born. When Christ died on the cross, long before he even died, right from the inception of earth, we were victors because there was already a plan in place, right? So how then should we walk? We should walk like successful people. We become who we see ourselves to be. So if you want to see yourself as a winner, if you want to be a winner, see yourself the way God sees you. See yourself as a winner. See yourself as a victor. And then next slide, please. It says, own your potential. Your potential is unlimited under the powers of the Holy Spirit, right? The next slide, please. Here is the squares, right? You count these squares, a lot of us will say 16, right? If you just look at it at first glance. Next slide, please. But it's actually more than that. I'm going to send the slides so that you can get a better understanding. That it's not just 16 squares. In the first picture, it's 16. In the second one, they're showing you 17 and 18. And then continuing to show you the others. Please continue, Karabo. As they're counting the blocks. Right? So now you see that it's not just 16, it's 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, right up until 30, right? So when you see one dimension of, Hashem, I've got 16 squares, the Holy Spirit is seeing more than double of what you see. This is why then you need to yield to God. Next slide, please, Karabo. This is a story, but Bazala Ningshawe is Kati. Can I please pass the story to the next slide, please, Karabo. So transformation by the Holy Spirit, right? The Holy Spirit is God's gift to help us to be all that he knows we can become, right? There is no limit to the usefulness of one who, by putting self aside, makes room for the working of the Holy Spirit upon her heart and lives a life who's wholly consecrated on God, right? So there is no limit. So even the 32 squares still are not limiting the Holy Spirit. There is no limit left. There's no limit. So what God can do with your life is limited, is unlimited. All he needs is for you to yield your life to him. Next slide, please, Karabo. What you do need to do, though, is to remove false standards, right? False standards. There is a difference between worldly success and self-esteem, and godly success and self-esteem, right? Possessions, performance, position, appearance, people. Those are the false standards, right? That it depends on what I have, what I do, where I am, how I look, those in my circles. That is what informs my self-esteem, right? But we are saying today that that is not where your self-esteem is derived from, right? Next slide, please. So we need to remove those false standards, and I think quarantine has done an excellent job in removing those false standards, right? So a person who seeks worldly success might ask, what do I have? How do I do? How do I do? How well do I do? How important am I? How do I look? What do other people think about me? So the moment those questions are plaguing your mind, and the answer to those questions is what is going to help, what you think is going to help you develop a sense of a high self-esteem, then you know what that is. False standards. Remove those standards. Next slide, please. We look at other people and try to live up to their expectations. That's a false standard, right? Next slide, please. God, the G factor. What about God's expectations for us? And that is where it is. What God expects of us, right? Next slide, please, Karabo. It would repair, if we would repair our damaged self-esteem, we need to remove the false standards of other people's expectations, right? Christian self-esteem begins with a sense of worth and uniqueness, which comes from our position in Christ, right? We are already special, created in his image and loved with an everlasting love. We are already, it's given, right? Before you were even born, right? He says, I knew you before you were even formed in the womb of your mother, right? He says, I knew you. I've called you. Jeremiah, I've called you. I knew you, right? So before all this, so therefore, our worthiness and our worth is not about who we were born to, what they did to us, which school we went to, which position we have at work, but it is derived from the fact that while I was yet a sinner, before I was even formed, he knew me and he created me in his image and he loved me with an everlasting love, right? I cannot outlove him. There's nothing that can separate us from the love of God. Again, we know that verse, Romans, that what then can separate us from the love of God? Next standard, next slide, please. So now what we need to do is turn failure into success, right? We all have established that there are things that we didn't do right. So we need to turn off the failure tapes, right? All those tapes. I can really like to say, hey, Mina, if it wasn't for Mang, I could have done this, I could have done that. If it wasn't for my pregnancy, I'd be far in life. If it wasn't for my sister who didn't love me, I'd be married by now. But now because unang lawyer, I don't know what's to lawyer, English. She was bewitching me. I'm now not able to get married. We need to turn off the failure tapes. Those things that make us wallow in self-pity, woe is me. We need to turn that off. We're not playing that tape ever again, ever. We are done. Next slide, please. Christ can help you to turn failure into success. Acknowledge it, right? So acknowledge that, yes, I could have done that better. I could have done this better. But then thank God for it. That, yes, I was raped when I was a child. But you know what? My parents divorced when I was a child. But I thank God for it, because had I not been raped, then I would have never learned the and relinquishing love of God the Father, because he loves me so much that even though I felt inadequate and I felt worthless, he still loved me, right? So yes, I'm coming from a broken home, but I thank God for it, because now I know how to ensure. I know that in order for me to have a home that will stand, I need to rely on Christ. So we are relying on God for that, right? So we acknowledge it. We thank God for it. We learn from it. Sarahina Mayoyo once also related a story about her rape, that she was raped by her uncle, but she hated him for a long time until she finally acknowledged that, okay, it has happened. But you know what? I thank God for it, because today she's able to heal other broken women from their rape experiences, because she's saying the same God that has taken me out of my pit of despondency and have made me this woman who can stand in front of nations and speak the truth about the God's power and love. It has enabled me. Therefore, I am a victor. What was supposed to kill me and destroy me has actually elevated me to be better than what I would have been had I not had that experience. So it's high time we started looking at our failures and turning them into success. We're no longer going to look at them and say, oh, woe is me. But we're going to say, yay, had it not been tough, that road that I walked through, I wouldn't be as strong as I am today. So I thank God for it, that I am what I am, because God has allowed me and trusted me to go through that experience. Next slide, please. Right, so Christ says, Christ can help you turn failure into success. Use it. Next slide, please. Christ can help you turn failure into success again. Overcome it, right? When you are able to talk about it and share it with others to their edification, then you have overcome it, right? You're not sharing it so that others look at the person who's done you wrong badly, but you're sharing it to say, look at me, I have overcome. You can overcome too. Then you have overcome. And then next slide, please. Christ can help you turn failure into success. Transform it, right? So now it's no longer a story of woe is me, but it's a story of look at what Christ was able to do through my shortcomings. Next slide, please. Handle your negative emotions. God understands our feelings, right? Jesus sympathizes with us. He truly can feel what we feel, right? So if you feel like, Minashem, I can't pray today, tell him that, Lord, today I can't pray. Let him know how you feel. Because remember Elijah was honest with God. He said, God, I feel like dying. Kill me. It's better you kill me. Just kill me, right? So be real and be honest with your feelings, and God will respond in a way that will edify and get you out of that pit of despondency. But it starts with us recognizing that we have a high priest who we do not have a high priest who cannot be touched with the feelings of our infirmities, but with us in all points, tempted as we are, yet without sin. So let Hebrews 4 verse 15 help us to take courage that he's been tempted in all points, yet he is without sin. So he can relate to how we feel. So my feelings of inadequacy, he knows how I feel, right? Although no one else may understand my struggle, Christ does. Next slide, please. Now handle your negative emotions again. Contact with God's transforms negative emotions, right? And provide for those who grieve in Zion, to bestow on them a crown of beauty instead of ashes, the oil of gladness instead of mourning, and a garment of praise instead of the spirit of despair. And that is what God wants to do for you. He wants to transform your ashes, my dear sister, into holy gladness. He wants to restore you, but he needs you to yield to him. Next slide, please. And then Philippians 4 verse 19 says, may God supply all your needs. Then the next slide says, feelings follow action, right? As they began to sing and praise the Lord, set ambushes against the men of Ammon and Moab and Mount Seir, who were invading Judah, and they defeated, right? So actions must come, right? You can't just be saying, woe is me, woe is me. In Exodus 14 verse 14, he says, don't worry, I will fight for you. You need only hold your peace. But in 15, he says, why are you still standing? Move forward. He says, stop praying. In other versions, he says, stop praying and move forward, right? So God needs us to reach a point in our lives, beloved, where we will say, Nkulunkulu, sikathelo lokusithandaza as Christians who who are masquerading as if we've made it. But we want to be honest and brutal with you that we have not made it. Therefore, please do something with us. And once he has done, then we must move forward as victors, right? We've prayed and he said, you need only be still, but then we must move forward with victory, right? There has to come a point in our lives, my dear sisters, where we stop praying and we start acting. Always remember Exodus 14:15. The next slide, please. As they began to sing and praise, the Lord set ambushes against the Ammonites. I think I read this one. Next slide, please. These are also stories. Can I please skip? Next slide, next slide, next slide, Karabo. Yes, so yield yourself to God every day, right? We must take time to feed our spirits, to rediscover the springs of God's love that will nourish our souls. My dear sisters, nobody's going to do this one for us, hey? No pastor is going to do it for us. No evangelist is going to do this for us. We need to yield ourselves to God and feed our spirits, because how on earth are we going to feed the nations and the families when we cannot even feed ourselves? It's important to feed and nourish our spirits. Next slide, please, Karabo. It would be well for us to spend a thoughtful hour each day in contemplation of the life of Christ, right? It would be well for who? For us, right? Each day to spend just an hour just contemplating upon the life of Christ, because when we contemplate it and we behold the life of Christ, we will become changed. Next slide, please, Karabo. Today, this is the final, well, almost the final slide. Today, I challenge you to be all that God has gifted you to become. It will take courage. It will take risk. Every successful woman since time began has needed courage to feel God's plans for her life, right? In conclusion, Bazalwane, Mama Kakula said, I'm really concluding. In conclusion, I would like to give you a homework, right? That's the last slide, Karabo Ungasai, because it's more or less a repetition now of the challenge, right? That I dare you to look at yourself through the master's eyes to see your potential, right? There's an exercise that I would like you to do. But this exercise, please don't submit it to Mom Bele or anybody. This is an exercise. The exercises that you're going to submit to her, she will give it to you in WhatsApp. But this one is a personal exercise. I want you to take a moment, whether tonight or tomorrow or whenever, but a moment where you can have peace and quiet for at least 30 minutes, to think about when did you start developing a low self-esteem as a child? When did you lose that vigor, that confidence that you had? When did you start losing it? To backtrack, and I want you to take a pen and paper and write a letter to that child or that woman or at whatever age you would have lost it. For me, it was when I was 16. That's when I lost my self-esteem. So when I wrote my letter, I wrote it to my 16-year-old self because of everything that had happened in my life at the time. My parents had divorced, and it was a shock to my system. So when I had to discover when did I lose it, it was in that moment. So I had to write, and it was only when I was writing this letter to this girl, Boholu, who is 16 years old, that I discovered that I actually blamed myself for my parents' divorce, right? So finally, now that I'm sitting down and I'm writing this letter, I said, the divorce of your parents was not your fault. Let it go, right? And for all the things that you don't do perfectly, it's okay. Let it go. So we need to reach a point where we let go, right? So for me, it was through a letter, and I encourage you, please write the letter and apologize to the mistakes that you also have done. That I've done this, and I apologize to you, when Abuholu, the 16-year-old, and I'm letting it go. But I want to encourage you, when a 16-year-old, that it gets better, because in this journey, we eventually meet Christ. So I want you to write this letter from a point of failure right up until the point of victory. Even though you don't feel like you have gotten the victory yet, but you must write it as a point in future, for dear future Boholo. You have conquered this thing, you have overcome this thing, you are better for it now, right? So that it gives you the hope. Quote verses if need be, write out those verses, memorize those verses of victory that speak life into your soul, that speak life into your bones. Can these bones live? Let them live. I thank you, sisters.
Amen and amen. Thank you so much, Boholo, for that powerful presentation. I think today we got more than we bargained for. Not only improve our public speaking skills, not only did we look at ourselves and sort of have a self-introspection about self-esteem and etc., but I think towards the end of the presentation, Boholo, you led us to the foot of the cross. And I literally felt the Holy Spirit pour down and use you in a special way. You are now preaching. And thank you so much. For me, my heart is full. And after this, I think we need a season of prayer that is solemn. And at this point in time, we will hand over to Mrs. Mudiri, who will do the closing prayer for us. Please take over.
Let us pray. Siyabonga Jehovah for being with us throughout the night. As we close this prayer meeting and the lessons we had, we want you to give us honor. We want to give honor and glory to your name. May you bless each one of us. Let your hand protect us, all of us with our families. Now, as we are about to go to sleep, please be with us all. Keep us safe and protected under your arm. And
Amen. Thank you so much. Just a couple of announcements. Tomorrow, the modules that we're doing is the first one is called Needs Assessment for your local church, and that will be done by Mrs. Shai Chili. And the second presentation or module is called Conditions of Women in the Bible Times. And we will be getting this message from Mrs. Batsiba Mutea Kim. Good night to everyone. Thank you so much for joining us until the very end. We can't wait to meet tomorrow again. Take care. God bless you. Bye-bye. You can leave the meeting now. And the committee, can we remain behind?